Well, good evening, America. It is 7 p.m. It's Monday, September 14th, and this is Queer News Tonight, the world's first live LGBTQ daily evening news. It is time to queer up the news.
Watch as we bring you these and other stories from the LGBTQ headlines. Queer Canadians are 3 times more likely to be assaulted compared to straight ones, and same-sex partners have finally won the right to Social Security survivor benefits.
We also have a resurfaced clip from 1979 Jane Fonda as an amazing LGBTQ ally. And Netflix Julie and the Phantoms rocks out with a gay ghost love story, and I'm down for that.
Later this week on It's Happening Out Wednesday at 8 p.m., the hosts are going to discuss new rules at the Oscars that require LGBTQ inclusion for a picture to be submitted as a Best Picture nominee. And then on Gay Town Hall this Thursday at 8 p.m., we bring you the most diverse cast of LGBTQ people in America together to discuss the latest and greatest buzz around the community. You for sure won't want to miss it. So good evening again, America. It is 7 p.m. Monday, September 14th, 2020, and it is time to queer up the news. We are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight. Tonight on the world's first live daily queer evening news show.
Tonight's news about the gay community and the news from an LGBTQ perspective. Are our gay stories important to you? In headlines, politics, entertainment, gay culture, travel, religion, and more. Reported by respected anchors.
Out of the closet and into the headlines on Q News Tonight. Well, thank you for joining Queer News Tonight. We are live. This is an unedited evening news show, so anything can happen. This evening we bring you the news of and a perspective from the LGBTQ community. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and these are my co-anchors, Dr. Ty Hauser and Chef Josie. So let's queer up the news. Tonight we begin with queer headlines. The LGBTQ community in America is diverse. The LGBTQ community around the world is vast, and we bring you the bullet points of queer news for today, Monday, September 14th, 2020. We begin by queering up entertainment. A resurfaced clip has appeared from 1979 showing Jane Fonda as an amazing LGBTQ ally. Watch this.
Do you feel that the gays in San Francisco, they're very powerful and very strong, they need your support? Are they still being discriminated against? Do you feel that?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Culturally, psychologically, economically, politically, gays and lesbians are discriminated against. They are a very powerful movement, especially in San Francisco. They don't need me, but they like me.
How amazing from 1979. Hollywood icon Jane Fonda has never shied away from being an outspoken progressive activist, no matter how high or how brightly her star has shone. That's something incredibly evident in a viral clip of the 82-year-old icon that is currently circulating on social media. Captured in 1979, the clip shows a reporter at an event interviewing Fonda about San Francisco's LGBTQ community. When the reporter asked if the LGBTQ people were using her, she got snippy in her reply back. The reporter then asked Fonda if LGBTQ people are using her for their own gain. Her reply was, "I hope they use me. What am I here for if not to be used by good people for good things?" Well said, Miss Fonda.
I have to say that I feel so honored that Jane Fonda would be such a fierce ally for our community. And, this is just another example of what the A stands for and why we continue to add letters to our alphabet. Jane Fonda, thank you very much for your support over the years.
I love Jane Fonda. I've always loved Jane Fonda. She is what the voice of progressive America needs to listen to and needs to know more about. The work that she did through the 60s and her protests and getting arrested and yeah. And when it says, use me, I thought Al was going to blush.
Of course, we love her in Frankie and Grace, but
I love it.
It is wonderful for us to be able to have a live LGBT news show where things like this get uncovered and we can help propel it. I have never seen that interview before from 1979. Quite amazing.
Next, let's queer up gay culture. Randy Rainbow addresses his own Twitter controversy in new video. Watch this.
We are back, Mr. President. How are you?
I'm the football guy.
Oh, good. Sir, the election is around the corner, and it seems your campaign strategy has been to ramp up your divisiveness and bigotry, spread misinformation, even disparage the military.
The news is so fake.
Listen, I get it. I was once an aspiring comedian just like you. I posted offensive things for shock value.
It was a disaster.
Calm down. The difference was I was doing it satirically, using irony and exaggeration to point out absurdity, saying and doing things through a persona that I wasn't actually saying and doing. Kind of like how I'm not really at the White House with you right now, see? It's just a green screen. But I changed my act when I realized there were actually awful things actually being said and done by actually awful people.
Comedian Randy Rainbow released a new video Sunday that addresses his Twitter scandal, urges people to vote out Donald Trump, and raises money for a voting rights nonprofit. As Queer News Tonight has reported on previously, Rainbow faced backlash after tweets of his from 2010 and 2011 surfaced, which included jokes targeting trans people and black people and drew on offensive stereotypes. In the video, Randy sits down for a fake interview with Trump and dresses him down for all the nasty things he has said, comparing Trump's remarks to his past ones, noting that his were merely satire, while stating Trump is actually awful.
Trump is actually awful. When these tweets resurfaced that Randy had, I was really concerned about him because this could be a career-ruining move. As a young comedian, I'm sure he was experimenting with things and just didn't realize what he was getting caught up in. And I think he did a great job of kind of saying, I'm sorry, in a funny way.
We reported at Queer News Tonight his tweets on the first day that they surfaced. And we all, I think, made a commitment to read and go back and read them and found in context what he was doing in 2010 and 2011 was not the same thing in context, and apologized. He apologized for them and did a brilliant move this week, which is to contrast his tweets to President Trump's. Randy Rainbow made many, many friends at Queer News Tonight.
Well, I've been one of his biggest fans for a long time, and he's also a huge fan of the gayest place on planet Earth, right here in Wilton Manors. So, you know what? You keep on shining your bright light, Randy Rainbow, and keeping all of us honest. And thank you for, this new video.
Little nugget.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if you need a place to stay the next time you're in Fort Lauderdale,
Always pitching. Always pitching.
Call me.
let's queer up Vote 2020. Donald Trump stuns the U.S. as he speaks out on a third-term negotiation as he's entitled to it. Watch this.
And 52 days from now, we're going to win Nevada. And we're going to win 4 more years in the White House. And then after that, we'll negotiate, right? Because we're probably, based on the way we were treated, we're probably entitled to another 4 after that. And it should never happen to another president. It's just a dishonest group of people. But here we are.
The U.S. president revealed his intentions to also pursue the 2024 election during a campaign event in Minden, Nevada. Speaking to a cheering crowd, he said, 52 days from now, we're going to win Nevada, and we're going to win 4 more years in the White House. And then after that, we'll negotiate, right? Critics have raised concern that the president may be seriously considering being in office for 3 terms, which would be outside the constitutional limitations. According to the 22nd Amendment, no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. However, in the past, Mr. Trump stressed his remarks about serving more than 2 terms were a joke.
All right, Mr. President, we took the bait. Are you satisfied? But you're like Wesson oil on a table. You can't put your finger on the lies that you're going to tell or the misdirection that you want to do. Of course, you want us to talk about the potential of a 3rd term, so we don't talk about the Woodward book. Yeah. We're not taking it off the table. You don't want us to talk about what you say about veterans. We're not taking it off the table. You do not want us to talk about how you've crashed the economy and 195,000 people are dead because of it, and you knew on January 28th how dangerous it was going to be. So congratulations. You've misdirected many of us, but we're right back to the attention that is needed for November 3rd.
Listen, this is the honest truth is dementia has absolutely set in, and we're seeing it unfold on the campaign trail. The reality is, Donald Trump, we have seen your smoke and mirror con man act before, and November 3rd can't come soon enough.
Josie, you're absolutely right. Delusional, delusional, delusional. I don't know if I can stand a 2nd term, let alone a 3rd term. I'm lucky I made it this far into the 1st term.
All right, well, let's continue. Next time we'll just do this in the big finish and be done with it. Next, let's queer up the USA. Trump supporter says LGBTQ allies should be shot dead as the crowd goes wild. As the West Coast continues to fight one of the largest forest fires on record, video has surfaced of Trump supporters gathering in Salem, Oregon on Labor Day. In the footage, things took a dark turn when a man called for the killing of Democratic politicians who support the LGBTQ community. That same day, a woman spoke to the same crowd and turned her attention on Black Lives Matter activists. Quote, "This fight was not against anybody but humanity," she said, and continued, "We are made in the image of God. No wonder they hate us. They legalize abortion. And I think about these wars that we're going through right now, the racial war and Black Lives Matter, but for some reason those Black lives inside of the mother's wombs, they do not matter." Apparently we missed quite an unfortunate spectacle in the Northwest over the holiday.
Next, we queer up entertainment. Netflix Julie and the Phantoms rocks out with a gay ghost love story. Imagine High School Musical with ghosts. The new show follows Julie, a teen girl who forms a band with 3 ghosts living in her garage, a trio of young rockers who met their demise 25 years ago when they ingested some gnarly hot dogs. The central love story for the majority of season 1 is between Alex, one of the 3 ghosts in Julie's garage, and Willie, a skater ghost he meets in the afterlife. Another major step for LGBT representation in the mainstream. This supernatural good time is screaming now.
Next, let's queer up the world. Queer Canadians 3 times more likely to be assaulted. Among members of sexual minority groups, including LGBT people and those who otherwise identify as non-heterosexual, 11% reported experience such an assault in the previous 12 months, compared to 4% of heterosexual people, a report from Statistics Canada finds. 59% of sexual minority Canadians reported having been assaulted at some point since age 15, while only 37% of heterosexuals did.
Next, let's queer up the world. 4 in 10 think it's inappropriate for 6-year-olds to learn that being gay is okay, a new study finds. As the new sex and relationships curriculum comes into place across England, Kantar conducted a study into attitudes toward the LGBTQ community. The study asked 2,363 people in the United Kingdom about the issue. Although the study found high levels of comfort toward the LGBTQ people being teachers, 91% in favor for gay men, lesbians, and bisexual people, and 77% for trans people, it still found that nearly 4 in 10 people, 38%, thought it inappropriate for a 6-year-old to be taught that being gay is fine.
Next, we queer up the USA. Same-sex partners win right to Social Security survivor benefits. A federal court ruled Friday that the Social Security Administration's blanket denial of Social Security survivors' benefits to same-sex spouses who were prevented from marrying is unconstitutional. The ruling came in the case of Helen Thornton, a resident of Washington State who sought to claim survivors' benefits based on her 27-year relationship with Marge Brown, who died in 2006, 6 years before same-sex couples in the state had the right to marry.
Now we'll queer up the USA. Native American Two-Spirit person becomes the first openly transgender official elected in the state of Maine. Geo Sakuma Neptune, 32, is a Two-Spirit member of the Passamaquoddy tribe who describes themselves as non-binary, trans-feminine, and gender non-conforming. They have just won election to the school board in the Passamaquoddy Indian Township, where they will proudly serve a 4-year term. Quinn Gormley, executive director of Maine Transnet, says Neptune's election is a mark of progress in the community.
Next, let's queer up business. TikTok admits to censoring some LGBTQ content on its platform. In a recent report from the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, it was discovered that many LGBTQ hashtags and content were banned from countries like Russia, Jordan, and Bosnia. The hashtags included gay Arab, I am gay in Russian, gay in Estonia, I am lesbian in Russian, and transgender in Arabic. It is clear that TikTok remains committed to adhering to local laws despite the harm they inflict on the LGBTQ community.
Next, we queer up the world. Russia is surveilling students' social media for LGBTQ activity. Human rights groups are sounding the alarm in Russia after evidence has emerged that schools are monitoring students' social media, their profiles, for signs of LGBTQ propaganda, and reporting them to a central government ministry. Teachers were allegedly asked to create dossiers on students whose profiles showed, quote, LGBTQ symbols, with those files including the students' addresses and physical descriptions. The climate for queer people in Russia has been growing steadily worse for years under President Vladimir Putin, with no signs of its turning around while he is still in charge.
Next, let's queer up religion. Christian group threatens to hang gay people in a loving way in a terrifying leaked WhatsApp message. The disturbing and dangerous messages first reported by the Cayman Compass were anonymously leaked by a member of a Christian WhatsApp group. In one, a member suggests, quote, maybe hang 1 or 2 gay people in a loving way, as a warning to others. Another message suggested implementing teachings from the Quran to criminalize homosexuality, reading, quote, if this was a Muslim country, they'd be thrown out by the thousands.
Next, let's queer up religion. The Texas Attorney General says Chick-fil-A to be offered a lease in San Antonio Airport following investigation. In March of 2019, City Council officials rejected the restaurant's bid to open a new location in San Antonio International Airport due to the company's alleged legacy of anti-LGBTQ behavior. Now this decision has been overturned. Attorney General Ken Paxton said the decision was so important because it was fundamental to the First Amendment that private business owners could still operate and practice their faith. Critics have for years pointed out that being anti-LGBTQ is not the same thing as worship. The FAA and San Antonio City Council state the AG has no authority to decide this decision. Next, let's catch up on all the news surrounding COVID-19 with our segment called Quarantine Quickies. The first story tonight is our daily reporting of the coronavirus facts, especially important to the LGBTQ community. First, we report on coronavirus case numbers. Based on the standard acceptance of the LGBTQ community, the world's LGBTQ COVID-19 cases now stand at 2,054,311, while America's LGBTQ COVID-19 cases stand at 407,756. We remind you that America continues to be the ground zero of this pandemic. The USA is just 4.4% of the world's population, but today America is 22.9% of all of the world's cases. Next, we report on coronavirus deaths. The world's LGBTQ COVID-19 deaths stand at a staggering 65,164, while America's LGBTQ COVID-19 deaths stand at 13,909. The USA is 21.3% of all of the world's deaths.
Next, quarantine quickies. Sex gets complicated during the pandemic. Watch this.
At this point, seeing people this close together probably has you on edge. So what will dating look like when we're supposed to still keep our distance? It depends.
Am I willing to take that kind of risk with someone I only know virtually? I mean, the answer, for me at this point, the answer is totally no.
The crowds this weekend suggest romance is in the air, whether people are feeling a little lonely or frisky after self-isolating.
Some people are certainly going to take advantage of the opportunity to take some of those dating offers that they started online over the past few weeks.
Dating apps have been busy, but not everyone will be comfortable taking it to the next level.
When the pandemic hit, couples found themselves worrying about getting sick, losing income, teaching their children at home while working full-time. COVID-19 has invaded nearly every aspect of our lives, so it's no surprise it's infiltrated our bedrooms too, for better or worse. Many people are reporting challenges in their sex lives and relationships, according to early findings from the ongoing Sex and Relationships in the Time of COVID-19 study undertaken by Indiana University's Kinsey Institute. In the study, where 47% of the participants identified as LGBTQ in some way, 44% said they had a decline in the quality of their sex lives since the start of the pandemic.
I don't know if Al's sex life can decline anymore, but I know that things have been rather tight in my bedroom.
Okay. Right. Of course, the statistics make sense. In a viral infection that is based on respiratory droplets, if you see how much comes out of Ty's lungs, you would know, no.
Oh my God, guys. Okay, let's keep it clean in here. Isn't this a family show? Yeah, listen, guys, I hear what you're saying, but that's why, right now through the pandemic, it's really important to stay in your pods, in your groups, in your pockets of friends. And I think, Al, you and I spoke about this on It's Happening Out. What do they call it? Sister season?
Yeah, sister season. We're in the midst of it. Ty's aware of this too.
Love it. Quarantine quickies. WHO reports record one-day increase in global coronavirus cases, up over 307,000. Watch this.
Registered a record one-day rise in the number of new coronavirus infections. And while a majority are in the Americas, the spread of the virus is accelerating across Europe. France is registering record numbers of new daily COVID-19 cases, which topped 10,000 per day over the weekend. Attempts by the government to slow down the virus have had little effect. Meanwhile, Paris is pushing a campaign of citizen responsibility, but has stopped short of bringing in new restrictions.
The World Health Organization reported a record one-day increase in global coronavirus cases on Sunday, with the total rising by 307,930 in 24 hours. The biggest increases were from India, the United States, and Brazil, according to the agency's website. Deaths rose by 5,537 to a total of 917,417. Both the United States and India each reported over 1,000 new deaths, and Brazil reported 874 lives lost in the past 24 hours. COVID-19 infections are still rising in 58 countries, including surges in Argentina, Indonesia, Morocco, Spain, and Ukraine. New cases are falling in the United States and are down about 44% from a peak of more than 77,000 new cases reported on July 16th.
Next, we're going to queer up a segment called Good News. After we finish our headlines, we'd like to report on something that made us smile today in Good News.
Let's queer up good news. Ducks are the best people. We loved this video as soon as we saw it. Ducks are the best, and we think seeing them tending to the fields will make your day that much brighter. Watch this.
Absolutely love that video.
Really cool.
Fashion. Fashion is one of the core components of the LGBTQ community. So tonight, we are going to bring you the top 10 gay fashion brands in the world. Keep in mind, though, that you may want to be ready to pause the video a few times as you watch, because we've included some tasty treats for our loyal viewers. Watch this.
From Q News tonight. The top 10 gay fashion brands. Number 10. 1DNA. Number 9. Butch Basics. Number 8. Tomboy X. Number 7. Roof Skin. Number 6. Ruben Galerita. Number 5. Charlie by Matthews Inc. Number 4. Kirin Finch. Number 3. Or 2. Number 2. Addicted. Finally, at number 1. Andrew Christian.
I've lost focus. Happening Out Television Network is broadcasting on our brand new set in partnership with the Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale, Wilton Manors, Florida. We joke we are broadcasting from the gayest place on planet Earth. Our support of their Sunday celebration is the largest LGBTQ religious broadcast in the entire world, every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and it's live. We encourage you to tune in. Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church. Watch this.
I'm Kevin Tisdall, Sunshine Cathedral's Minister of Education, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
We'd also like to thank our set designer, Concepto Modern Living, here in Fort Lauderdale, for making this set in this amazing queer church campus possible.
Welcome to week 3 of Queer Money Talks, where every Monday we will take viewer questions about finance and the economy and ask our expert to weigh in so that you can be more confident with your money.
Excuse me, we are proud to have Queer News Tonight contributor David Treece joining us now. With 30 years of experience, David works excuse me, as a fee-based investment advisor representative with Cetera Advisors and is an accredited investment fiduciary. He understands financial markets and is an expert in financial planning. David has been featured in the Miami Herald, Sun Sentinel, PBS's Nightly Business Report, The Washington Post, and on an NBC6 in an Emmy award-winning series about his work, and is a member of our LGBTQ community. David, welcome to Q News Tonight.
Al, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Anything before we jump and dive into viewer questions that was important to you this week in the world of finance?
Well, these are the most interesting historic times that we're living in, and that certainly is true of the markets, the economy, finance, personal finance, all the numbers, and who knows where we're going. So it's these are definitely, as the Chinese say, may you live in interesting times.
Yes, absolutely. Let's jump right into viewer questions, and Josie, you're going to lead us off.
All right, our first viewer question. We're in a poly relationship. How can we treat finances fairly for everyday bills and expenses?
You know, it's interesting. I have a lot of couples, at least, who are not legally married, and they keep their finances separate. So the way to do this, and the way most of them do it, is they set up a separate account, like a household account. So you look at what the basic expenses are to maintain the house. It could be rent or mortgage or utilities, and reach an agreement as to who's going to contribute what, and it goes into that account. Where it can be trickier is when you get to discretionary expenses. But the important thing is to talk about it so that you don't have resentment. If this is a relationship or relationships that you want to keep together, don't let money get in the way if that's possible. So you have to talk it out. Usually somebody wants to spend more money, somebody else is thriftier, so you have to reach an agreement. And it could be that somebody makes more and somebody makes less, and so that could be another point of discussion that if you want to do.
David, I'm curious, before gay marriage as it relates to this, and not only polyamorous relationships, but even 2 men, 2 women, etc., whatever it might be. Have you noticed in your practice in LGBT that money creates conflict between the couple or the multiples, the 3 people involved?
Yeah, I can't say that it's any worse for LGBT couples. One of the differences, I think, is the lack of marriage rights. Marriage is relatively new for us. We've had marriage rights for 5 years. So often couples who've been together or are coming together later still keep their finances separate. So that's not an unusual thing. So there are all sorts of differences, though, that I see. It could be even in investment choices. Some are very aggressive on maybe one partner, and then somebody else is more conservative. A big one is there may be somebody who's really hands-on and they know everything, they want to do everything, and somebody else is completely hands-off and they really don't. That makes me nervous. They really don't know what's going on, and if something goes wrong, then they've got to try to piece it all together. So I try to make sure that.
Well, at least it's exciting that it's one area where we're exactly equal to all of the rest of the communities, whether it's good or bad. Ty, you had another viewer question.
Yes, so we have a viewer wrote in and said, we aren't married. What do I need to do for estate and emergency planning?
The emergency part of this is huge. And again, as we were talking about, marriage rights are relatively new. So we've been planning for the lack of marriage rights for decades. So the big thing about emergencies, I think this is the biggest question I want people to ask themselves. If you're in a relationship and you're not married, think about what could go wrong. If there's an accident, a sickness, if somebody passes away prematurely, are you prepared? And don't assume things. We want you to have everything in order, your documents. The biggest document is a power of attorney. And that is the one that gives you the right to make decisions for somebody else or for them to make decisions for you. I had a brother who got AIDS. He passed away from it. I was his power of attorney. That saved me. I was able to fight for him, to be his advocate, to get his medical decisions done, to have access to his medical records, to sign his bills, to get everything done. You want to make sure you've got somebody who has that right for you if you're in that situation. The other thing are what we call the advanced healthcare directives. That is the medical power of attorney, or the living will, which is the pull the plug document. So if somebody's in, as they say, a persistent vegetative state. And I went through it, and until you've gone through it, you don't appreciate how important these documents are. You want to make sure that you have them done properly. Sometimes people will ask, well, do I really have to spend money on an attorney? Can I just get something downloaded offline or online? And the problem I have is it has to be executed properly. It varies from state to state. Here in Florida, you have to have 2 witnesses and a notary. There has to be certain language. So this is where you can mess it up. And it's so
David,
important.
I want to make sure that we're clear. So you've said power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, and then living will and presumably the will. Is that something that the financial planner advisor gets involved in, or that is something an attorney should do separately?
We work with attorneys, so I always say we're not attorneys, we don't give legal advice, we're not accountants, we don't give tax advice, but we definitely ask these questions and we keep track of it. And another thing that we do is, if you've done your legal documents, another big issue is to make sure that they're available in an emergency. If you've got a will and it's in a safe deposit box, you pass away, there's a problem. Nobody can get to it. You're going to have to get a court order. So you need to plan for those things. So we will file them electronically. We use various services to make sure that they're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay. And Josie, you have our final question tonight.
Our final question tonight from one of our viewers is, money is tight during COVID-19. What are the consequences of using retirement funds?
Another great question. The issue, we never really want you to use retirement funds for non-retirement purposes. And the reason is you're basically borrowing from your own future. And we want you to think about it. If you're working and money is tight now, imagine when you're in retirement and you're not working. Money may be tight, even tighter then. So there are costs for doing this. The most powerful force in finance is the time value of money and the compounding. So if you're taking money out of your retirement plans, you're hurting yourself in the long run. Now we realize COVID-19, that you may have lost a job, you may have extra expenses, it may be unavoidable. And that's why we've had the CARES Act, which allows you, even if you're younger than 59 and a half, to take money out of retirement plans and not have that 10% penalty. The government's increased loan limits out of 401k plans. And you will also be able to put that money back over 3 years. But that's the key point there, is if you're going to raid your retirement plan, you have to change your focus when you're making more money to put that money back and to get that as a priority again, so you're not falling further behind.
David, since we, to that point about borrowing or stealing from your retirement fund, the number one thing that I've heard about our segments with you since we've started is, this is not for me because I don't make a gigantic amount of money. And we've reported it at Q how many LGBT are affected because of service industry personnel. I continue to say, because I've read some of the stuff that you have written, that even if you're saving in a retirement account $25 a week, you're better off than the alternative of not doing. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. We call it dollar cost averaging. The point is to save regularly. The more you can automate it, and you can do this even if you don't have access to a group plan. You can start up, at a bank or a company like ours, any kind of a financial services company, an advisor. It could be as little as $50 a month, something regular. But it grows over time, and you have to pay yourself first. Otherwise, you're going to run out of time, and then there's less of an option. So you try to find a way to save something. That's super important.
Excellent advice. Well, LGBTQ America, that was week 3 of our segment called Queer Money Talks. We look forward to having you back next week as well with more expert advice for the LGBTQ community. Thank you for your time tonight, David, and as always, we appreciate it.
Thanks.
We end tonight's broadcast with a big finish. These are short stories and short story mentions of LGBTQ news or news with a gay perspective. So here we go. First on Queer News Tonight's The Big Finish. Donald Trump allegedly called a contestant on The Apprentice a black fag.
How many times do we have to hear a story like this to believe it? You know, I'm really starting to believe that this man can do whatever he wants and he will get away with it. Again, possibly more smoke and mirrors, but guys, just make sure you're registered to vote November 3rd.
2 words, orange asshole.
I specifically shout out to Richard Grinnell. Have you heard? President Trump is the most pro-LGBTQ president in history.
Yeah.
The big finish. 2020 continues to be the worst, and now it's proven. There's not going to be any damn peeps for Halloween or Christmas.
Well, my mom will be really upset.
Yeah, you know, those things scare me because they last forever. So probably if you have a packet from 20 years ago that you find in your Christmas boxes, they're probably still good.
Yeah.
They're still fine.
Like
100 years
life,
from
right?
now, after the nuclear war, they'll
Yeah.
be fine. Damn it, COVID-19, not only are you canceling much of the boring straight people Christmas, but also the more fun and way sluttier gay Christmas. That's Halloween, by the way. It's just not fair. The big finish. Biden argues he's in better shape than Trump and asks people to just look at us.
Okay, as funny as this is, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm feeling a little violated. And, you know, this might be a big finish, okay, but it's not one for me.
Oh, I don't want to say this. I don't like the idea of body shaming people, and I kind of don't like that that Biden would go to that level, but it's probably true.
Yeah, probably is true. This is when Trump will tell his base that he is 190 pounds and runs 5 miles every day. He doesn't eat at McDonald's. They have, after all, believed even less believable lies before, so why not go for another one? It seems to be where we are in September of 2020. The big finish. This was a delicious story. Chris Evans mistakenly sends out a dick pic over Instagram.
I just can't even. I know that you could probably slide this into my DM, right, Al?
I'm sorry, you're going to have to skip me for a minute.
You know, the funny thing here on Chris Evans is I searched and searched and couldn't find the picture. And Dr. Ty Hauser, of course, found it on some German site and right before this show showed it to me. Not too bad.
Okay,
Not
so
too bad.
so Ty is slipping it into my DM.
Yes, exactly.
Got it.
Not me, because I don't have it yet.
That scares me a little, Josie.
The big finish. Soul legends crash Instagram over the weekend. Live. Patty, Gladys, Dion, and the entertainment world went berserk.
Oh my God, I can't even believe I missed this. Now, I haven't been able to spend too much time on the internet these days because I am running a campaign and we're 50 days away from the election. It's not just Trump who's worried about November 3rd, so am I. But wow, this is amazing. The Queens of Soul going live on Instagram. You see, I told you there are blessings during the pandemic.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, queens, work all day. I love it when strong black women get together and show the world what it's like to be
Finally, and it
wonderful
only
people.
took 9 months to justify in 2020 Instagram. But it was live, and Gladys started, and then impromptu singing, and Dionne Warwick joined, and then Patti LaBelle joined, and they sang their Friends song, made famous by Dionne Warwick. And when J-Lo and Oprah and then Michelle Obama and 1,000 other celebrities came in live going, holy crap, look what's going on, we knew it was a big deal. And then Instagram broke. And now it's done. It's done. The big finish, and I love this story. Congratulations, Burger King. They celebrate Pride by creating their mascot kissing Ronald McDonald. We're not kidding. This is an advertisement.
Well, you know, Burger King is all about doing the impossible with their Impossible Whopper, which is for all the vegetarians out there. But now this, I think I'm going to get hungry after this taping.
I'm kind of just wondering, is it bear for twink or is it bear for mask? Or
Right.
like, I'm not quite sure what this relationship is.
This is an advertisement in Scandinavia, Burger King, by the way, for Pride. Burger King has always been a fantastic ally. They've done the queer burger, the queer Whopper, always been a fantastic ally for the LGBTQ community. But I hope one day that they can stop getting their asses handed to them on Twitter by Wendy's, because that girl's Twitter game is on fire. If you haven't followed Wendy, follow it, because that girl bitch slaps left and right. I love it.
Check, Al. I'm
Yeah.
doing that again.
Yes.
I have a long laundry list starting here for after the show.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that's it. That is today's news for the LGBTQ community on the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Remember, if it's important to the LGBTQ community, it's important to Queer News Tonight. But you gotta help us. Click subscribe on YouTube and share this news.
Girl, we're out of the closet and into the headlines. I kind of got challenged to do that. This is the only source of live LGBTQ news in the world, and your community needs your support.
You are not alone, and we will get through this crisis.
We are here with you, and this is Queer News Tonight.
Thank you for joining us, America. I'm Al Ferguson, and on behalf of Dr. Ty Hauser and extraordinaire Chef Josie, we will see you daily and tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Good night.